good. Is this on? I think it is. Links. Put some links up. Okay. Let's begin. Let's try to begin. Okay. Recently, I got some role-playing games. I mean, a role-playing game called Blade Runner. It has a VTT setup, and it's actually two products. I first got the starter set, which is an adventure that you can run, and a limited set of rules, like just the basic rules, not enough to create like your own characters or create your own case file. Instead, you have a pre-made case file with pregens. And I was planning on running that for myself, not the game, not the actual case file, as a solo game. A solo game, if you don't know it, is a role-playing game, just a pen and paper role-playing game like Dungeons and Dragons or any other what you like, that you can play by yourself. You don't have a GM, a game master. You don't have a referee. You have just tables, random tables. Now, some games are made for that. Other games are made for group play, and there are tools that I can use to play it alone. One such tool is the Game Master Emulator from Mythic, but there are a few others. I am not sure yet which one I'm going to choose to play. Maybe something free, maybe not. Because of the kind of game this is, it's usually set around a case. This means there's an actual mystery that you have to solve, or at least it serves as a background for more drama and stuff. Since I'm not going to have a pre-made case, and I'm not going to use the tools to create the whole case from scratch to finish, to start from start to finish, that means I should probably look for other tools that unfold mysteries as you go. Kind of like how random tables can tell you which monster you fight. in a different kind of game. You don't have a map, you don't have locations. I'm looking at the mic, but the mic is not the camera, sorry. Uh, that means that things change on the fly. So I don't have a, for example, if there's a murder, I don't necessarily have a culprit. I may have a suspect or two. And as I find clues, the clues themselves are being generated as I find them. Otherwise, I will know what the clue is, because I am the game master and almost also the player. And that's not very satisfying. That means I will find a clue, and it will roll on a table, and the table will tell me what the clue is, and maybe a different table will tell me, oh, there's a new person that might be a suspect of the murder or different crime. And then that person pops out of nowhere, pops into existence. That's usually how these solo games work. Things happen. The world is unfolding before your eyes to keep some sort of mystery from yourself. Otherwise, I will just basically be rating a book. I'm sure there can be random rolls to see who kills who, and if you open the door or not, or you fail to pick the lock. But I will already know what's behind the door. I will already know which monsters or which enemies or which soldiers or which are where. Right? Usually a GM will hide this information from the players, but they might already have themselves an idea, at least, or maybe they know the whole thing, how everything happened in advance. Some GMs also like to be surprised, and they will just do the bare minimum and then wait for players to actually do something and then come up with things like, oh, there's the clear might be this guy or maybe this guy, and they will choose not just because something the players did, but maybe at the moment that a clue is uncovered, they will roll randomly maybe who did it, right? Okay, so that's the idea. Like I said, I got the starter set first. It doesn't have all the rules, and it doesn't tell me how to make adventures or how to make characters. But no long ago, the whole game was on sale, so I ended up getting the full game too. And I have a few more. There's a few more things here. I have the entire game is. I have it in PDF, but the entire game is journal form here. So that means I can read all the rules. Let me see. You can see I have a core rules folder, and I have a starter rules folder. The starter rules was the first thing I installed, and it has the light version, let's say. It's not free, it's just not all the rules are here. Right, you don't see every single possible item that you could find. But usually the rules are very similar. Like I think they're just like missing. I think it's just missing pages. But here you can see I have the whole game here. I have a big explanation of the entire map, which wasn't part of the rules of starter rules, and I have some more things about how to run the game, a game that's not pre-made. Also, I was thinking, well, since I don't have the core rules, I will just probably use the pregens, but I will not use the case. The case I already know what the case is about, who's responsible, so on. But there's nothing wrong with the pregens. I could just choose one or two. I'm thinking a main character, because it's a solo game. Technically there's only one player, right? So it will normally be one PC. Obviously, you don't have a main character in a group game. It's an ensemble of characters. But in a solo game, there's only one player, so the player is the protagonist, at least of the story, if not the main person in the world. right? But I don't know. I think that makes the game a little boring. Just having one person do everything. Maybe have a sort of like a sidekick, or at least a second NPC. PC. I don't know how to call it. Is it a PC? Is it an NPC? I guess it's a PC semi free-willed. The way I will treat it is probably as some sort of companion or follower, and I will have control of that person on fights. If I need help from like in a skill roll, I can just make that person do the skill roll. But the interactions between both characters will probably be more like between a PC and an NPC. So I will decide what my character wants to say, and I can still roll for like responses, or at least I will think what the other character will do, because I don't control their thoughts. I just try to figure out, okay, if I say something to that character, what will that character will react. But for mechanical purposes, for crime solving purposes, I will be playing a party of two. And I think it's easy to die in this game if you put yourself in a dangerous situation. This is not a dungeon crawling game. You're not supposed to go through rooms and kill monsters and go to the next room and kill more monsters. You are a cop. You are a Blade Runner in a city, and you are investigating, usually talking with civilians, and you have no reason to start like randomly shooting people. So if you start randomly shooting people and they shoot back, random tables in this game will probably tell you that you got a headshot, and then you just die immediately if you're unlucky enough. But what could happen is a confrontation of two with the actual perpetrators of crime. Probably in the ending, there should be a big showdown, I guess, or at the very least a confrontation where you could choose not to fight because you don't want to die, and maybe there's some nuance on the reasons that they did the crime. I mean, this is a game about replicants that are hunted down, and usually the movies, they show them as sympathetic characters, sometimes, not all of them. I will say that, yeah, you may have reasons not to fight them. So there's more than one reason not to fight them. But in the end, you are a cop and you have gun. So you're probably going to get into a firefight at some point. But you could just die in one roll. That means I might just cycle the characters. If the main character dies, that means the new one has to continue. So the police will send the next available one, and I have four of them. So I think that's fine. Another thing about this game, Blade Runner is an RPG where you're solving a case. The case is usually, like I said, pre-written, but there's also a number of events that happen during your investigation. So for example, the case might say, in day 2, so and so gets killed. And maybe by day 4, if you hadn't solved the case by then the bad guy gets away, kills the last victim they want to kill. You can still kind of like solve the case, but after the fact. But yeah, you didn't prevent them from like doing their worst. In this case, at least in this adventure, you have for different number of players, because you can split up the party. In this game, you are encouraged to split up. You have shifts. You have basically 3 shifts that you can, like turns, right? Where you can do one thing. Not one thing. You can visit one place and investigate that place. Like talk to people, use your machines in the LAPD, whatever, you have limited time. So that means the more players you have, usually you split to cover more areas, right? You may say, okay, player 1 will go and see the crime scene. Player 2 will go to the crime database. Maybe player 3 and 4 want to confront a possible suspect. And yeah, they team up because, you know, there might be a fight. They need reinforcements, so nobody wants to go alone. So that's already 3 actions you're doing, right? The game is balanced in that way. So for 4 players, all the events happen faster. They're close together. So if a single player may lose the case by day 5, maybe 4 players will lose the case by day 2. That's 6 shifts that you call. It's 4 shifts in a day, but you're supposed to have a 1 of downtime or start like losing health. There are some traits that do like 4 shift and then rest. Take your downtime. Or you could try just you could just take the damage and keep going. Maybe you want to go 6 shifts without sleep and then take like 2 shifts of 2 damage points for those 2 extra shifts, and then you will go rest. And then it resets. Not the health, the countdown, right? So one thing I will not do in a solo play is have a countdown, have a number of things that will happen on day 2, on day 3, on day 4, because I don't know what's going to happen, and I want to roll them at the beginning of the adventure because I will then know them. I will know exactly what's going to happen. I will do some sort of random table to see, okay, maybe after so and so days something minor happens, maybe after the next thing will be more important, and after like 6 days something critical happens, right? And maybe I will roll some die to select maybe plus minus 2 days, so it doesn't follow an exact structure. Or maybe it depends on how much I have advanced the case, or like I could have a score, and the worse I'm doing, the higher the chances of something bad happening. I still don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that, but I need to check my tools and see some equivalent to that in the game. Right now, I am thinking I need a system for the case itself, and I've seen some. I think it's a Mythic magazine. I don't have it, but I've seen somebody use it in a stream or a video. That's a mystery, how to create mysteries, and it uses the Mythic engine, GM emulator engine, mostly, but there's a structure to it. So you find a clue. So there's a table for what the clue could be, and then you keep score. How many clues do you have, or the score, how close you're to solving the case, or how close you are to like finding your next suspect, or you have an increasing list of suspects, but maybe when something happens, there's a higher chance that one of the suspects is a criminal, right? And then in the end, also you have a threshold. Then that suspect gets locked as the main culprit. I may want to look into that. I think I have the magazine number. I may have to go to drive-thru and buy it if I don't find some alternative means to generate the story. It's not enough to just use any any random generator for like an adventure. I need something that has to deal with a whodunit, like as they say. Right? It has to be something that has clues, has suspects, blah blah blah. No, that's the closest I found. I'm sure there might be a different one somewhere. Maybe if I Google enough, I'll find something else. That one seems good. I'm going to look into that one. Definitely. All right, so let's go over this Foundry table. So what do I have here? Well, obviously I have all the things from the starter set, which are actual locations and actual criminals and stuff. I mean, I may use some of this. Like Animal Row is a common location in the game, so there are a lot of reasons to visit it, sure. But there's like a pub. I mean, it's a main place in the case file, but it's not an uncommon place to visit. But everything else is, I have Holden's office. This is the, police chief, and you have a map of the city. This is not part of the case. This is just part of the manual, I guess. The starter set, the physical, has like a nice unfoldable map, but this is the same map that's in the core rules. Pretty much every other place here is a specific location in the game. I mean, this is an apartment of a suspect or a victim or something, but this is a standard apartment in the game. Like they show you most Blade Runners live in this ugly, like, tiny space in a really bad part of town. So they are copy-paste apartments. So I could reuse this, sure. I will rename it a generic apartment or make a copy. Yeah, this is just a crime lab, so sure, why not? And then you have places that are, like I said, they can be recycled, I guess, but they are specific to the crime. Right. All right. Let's not spoil too much. I'm not going to make maps for everything. Like I say, I'm not doing GM prep. I'm not preparing for a session with players. This is supposed to be a game that I'm playing. So sure, most of the things will be clear of the mind, or I'll find generic maps like, a street corner where a shootout can take place. Game has another thing called chases, which is when you chase somebody through, or you are chased. For example, when somebody's following you with a car and shooting at you, or you're running through alleys, and that doesn't have a map. That's card based. You choose an action, the other side chooses an action. There's a random card of where you're running through or where your vehicles are flying through. Like maybe you're going low, too close to the street, or maybe there's nowhere to hide, and so on and so forth. But there's no reason to have a map there. Yeah, not everything has to have a map. And in this case, most things, there will almost be no maps. What else? Let me see. Okay, music. So they tell you to play some music because this is Blade Runner, and music is part of the ambience. So obviously, I keep saying obviously, I mean, well, obviously music is usually copyrighted. I can't get any music I want if I'm going to play with friends. But if I'm going to stream or save this to YouTube, I need to play music that's copyright free or has permissions to play. So I found one song that's free. It says copyright free for streams, and it's nice. It's an 1 hour long, so I'm probably going to use that on a loop because that's the only song I found that I can use. So I mean, let me play that. It's kind of cool. It's minimum volume, so I can actually hear myself talk. yeah, if I don't play it here, I may play it in the stream, but I might also decide to edit in post. It doesn't really make much difference to me. I mean, it makes editing probably harder, right? If I just play it on the background on the main sound of the video, anytime I cut, there might be a hard cut on the music. So yeah, I think I probably won't play the music. At least I won't record it. I'm gonna play it to myself. And then if I ever edit this to smaller video, I will add the music. Yeah, it's a pretty cool Blade Runner inspired song. Let me stop that now. Anything else I want to cover? I mean, one of the cool things. Oh, okay. First of all, I didn't say this. This is Foundry, the Foundry VTT. If anybody's familiar with something like Roll20, this is very similar to that, except I don't have to use a website for it. I can just run it on my computer. And this entire game has been specifically made for Foundry. Not the game itself, like the package I bought includes a setup for VTT, for Foundry specifically. Foundry has many options that are similar to other games, to other virtual tabletops. It has initiative, has a chat window where you can roll dice. So you can roll, for example, I don't know, the 2d8, a d8 plus a d6, d10, and see what happens. It's an animation, right? The dice are specific for the game. We have scenes. The scenes can be maps, but they often are also just background picture. Usually you need to draw the tokens, to drag tokens to the scene if you want to use them in a fight, for example. So I will take a character like this. Now this character is on the map. It's moving very slowly, but she's here, but she's not standing here in Los Angeles. She's just in the scene for this case. In this case, I'm not pretending that this is not a play map or a battle map. So even if I'm running like something like this, you are in the crime lab, you are here, and this guy's here, right? And this is Coco. I think he's somewhere here. Yeah, this is a main character from the movies. I think the second movie. No, main character, supporting character. Sorry. So well, this doesn't have to be starting on his face. Well, why not? It looks cool. It looks silly. There you go. Nice. There you go. So once I have these guys here, I can add them to initiative, and then I can have a fight or whatever. What else? There's items. So you can manage things like weapons here and drag it to the character sheet, but there's all other things. You can have wounds. So things that are like critical injuries, you throw them into your character sheet, and that's a way of keeping track of them. Right? They are in the core rules. Doesn't say start. Say I believe they're just the same in both modules. Journals. These are very cool. Journals are essentially your own editable books, right? You can have an entire book here, and if you see the rules are stored as journals. They have an index. Each page is its own has its own entry on the index, but you can have you also have you have headings. Sorry, you have headings, and each heading has its own an index too. This is cool because that means I can reference the rules, but I can also make my own files. So in this case, I started making some notes, and I've themed them because I can do that. I can use some like HTML, and since the game already has some nice styles for things like boxes like this, I can actually just give them like a style. Like I can make a box look like this just with one keyword, right? So I've been doing that. I did make a case by hand. So I rolled the die on all the tables, and just to test how a randomly generated case would be. You have a theme, right? You roll for a theme. This like organized underground threads. Assignment is a new extremist group. It's attempting to radicalize replicants into terrorists. That's just 2 tables, but it's really a 1 table, 1 subtable. It's not that random. It's one thing I don't like. There's actually a number of possible assignments you can roll. It's a lot of them, but there's like, I don't know, the tables around here. Let me see. Core rules, case generator, the theme. So there are 6 themes, and each of them has about 10 possible crimes, right? So that means there's 60 crimes. So if you play enough, they will start repeating themselves. That's okay for for a group. You can have 60 cases. Eventually you have to go through all of them and stop rolling, because just picking one, I guess, or re-roll if you get the same twice. You roll for some NPCs. You roll for a number of them. Like I think it's a D6. And then you might have 5 main characters, and then you just roll on the table to see if they are corporate, crime, entertainment, and each of these have some occupations. These are fixed, so it only has 6 occupations, for example. The names are also based on the type, so for some reason everybody who's a corporate has one of 6 first names and 6 last names. So that's another thing I might not use. I might use just a name generator, right? The occupations are fine. The quirks, yeah, you choose a quirk. I may use a different table for that. I may use one of the GM emulator tables, I think. Let me see what else. Then you stop after this because I got tired. But let's take an example of a randomly generated case. There is a random generator based on the book that you can use, so it just creates everything. So you also have to choose a location, maybe where the crime took place, I guess, or more than one location for some reason. You roll for some clues. There's a twist. There's a couple confrontations and some mood elements, right? Like the weather, or a screen ad, or I don't know. I didn't get that far. So what's the difference between this and solo play? Well, the main difference is whatever I use, even if I use this, I will have to roll during play and not roll beforehand, right? So there's a scene. Okay, what's the mood piece of that scene? I find a new clue. What's the clue? Then I will roll for the clue, or then I will roll for a new NPC. So I may start with, okay, I will start with a theme, a crime, because the first thing that will happen is that the chief will tell me there's been a crime, so and so, go investigate, there's the location, and there's a witness, right? So I will have at least that much rolled, but I will not know about the rest of the witnesses, or sorry, suspect witnesses, etc. So on, until I start playing, when I go to the scene of the crime, start asking around, and then maybe during the interrogation or interview, they will drop a name, and then I will roll for a name. I will ask an oracle, is that maybe this is that a, I don't know, a family member, is that a patron of the bar, and then I will come up with a new character. So I will probably use the rules from something like Mythic instead of this. Right, so there's a new location I have to visit. Okay, I will roll for a location. I want to have an entire case written down. What else do we have here? There are cards, there are rollable tables. You can make them. This is, let me see, sector case. All right. So the starter loot comes with some simple tables for injuries and damage, and I believe for downtime events. Yes, but these are tied to the case. I mean, I can just reuse them. It's like you have a nightmare, or some thugs try to rob you on the streets. These are repeated here. For example, this is the chase. So this one came with the start rules. The others are more detailed from the core rules. Right. All right. Let me see. My wife is texting me. A second. Okay. Very good. Anyway, this okay. So the downtime are related to case. So starter rules and case file 01. Those are part of the starter set. Core rules. This is stuff from the main book, and I believe the downtime events are the same. So I guess this is a generic one. So chase obstacles, right? Every turn you chase, you might draw an obstacle to face. These are for character generation. If you want to roll for some part of your character, if you are creating one new one. Criticals, sure. So the way this works is you make a table, and then you can add some ranges, and you decide which die you use and what's the range of each thing, and you will choose one and pop it on the chat like this. Okay, you get this huge hollow for the companion reaches out, blocks the line sizes. You're in an aerial vehicle, and like one of the ads just messes with your view. Okay, let's delete that. So, why I'm saying this, because this is a solo game, I'll probably copy some kind of tables here, make my own tables for event, for, I know, NPCs I want to create on the fly. I have cards. The initiative deck is kind of cool. Initiative deck, you have number. Oh, this is from a different game. Okay, these are the Blade Runner cards. So you have, you know, numbers 1 to 10, and you draw a card, and that's the order of your that's the order you get your turn. Chase maneuvers, because each person has to decide what action they're going to take in a chase, and they don't see each other's. So there's a nice module here that they provided that's simultaneous cards, so you can choose which side there are, and then the player gets a pop-up and say which action do you want to take. They take an action. You as a GM don't know what they are doing yet, and they don't know what you're doing, and then you reveal both cards once everybody's set. Okay, so you prepare you can see that only the ones on the scene are available to choose. What else? Well, the music tab. Compendiums are kind of like archive files. You can have adventures here. This is basically just unpack on the other tabs. Well, yeah, the settings. Let's see. That's my phone. Let's see what else. What else? Well, I think that's enough for a setup for now. I will probably need to do some research on systems for creating my case. I think I mostly said. Well, let's go over my notes. So these are my notes. I just decided to write them down here so I can add more stuff here. But basically says case details. Do not generate all the case details in advance. What I was saying. Instead, generate the main plot hook, theme, and assignment, and create the NPCs using the random tables one at a time. Whenever your GM emulator Oracle tells you to introduce a new PC. Now I have like specific parts of a case. This is a big picture. Okay, the situation. That's straight from the book. The situation is part of the case that tells the GM everything. So there's basically all the spoilers are in this situation. If you read the case file, if you read case file for Electric Dreams, and I open this, I'm not going to, but if I open Electric Dreams, that's going to give me the whole summary of what happened, who killed who, why, what are the plans to get away and whatever, if they're going to do more crimes. So obviously the situation is this doesn't exist, right? This is a big picture, entire info of the case, as the GM will know it. Since there is no GM, nobody at the table actually knows what the real deal of the case is. There are no GM notes and so on. Everything is decided on the fly, so this goes out the window. The countdown. This is what I was saying. There's an actual timeline of events in that case. So the second day somebody will call you, the third day somebody will, I don't know, do something else, blah blah blah. Okay, so instead of writing down in advance the events and countdowns, some other methods should be used to decide what happens during each shift. Major events such as failing to solve the case before some great disaster will probably happen after a large amount of shifts have happened, while smaller, less critical events could happen earlier. So, like I was saying, I might have a different method to decide, okay, each shift, there's like a small chance of something right, there's a big chance of nothing happened, right? A smaller chance of something irrelevant happen, and then maybe a tiny chance of something really, really bad for you. And there should be a threshold, right? Day one. So, for example, the first 3 days you're guaranteed not to have a what would you call it? A complete breakdown on your case, right? That maybe start happening after day 4, and then maybe the chance starts going up. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Maybe I won't even just count down, because I don't know. The story itself is so random that, like, something out of the blue just happening. It will have to be something that adds to the case. It will have to be something that adds, like, oh, there's a new event. You maybe want to investigate that instead of, oh, you messed up. Why didn't you go there? Why did you prevent this? You didn't find the clues fast enough. But the clues are all, let's call them procedural or randomly generated. So, and I even have to interpret the clues. Like, oh, I found a clue, but I don't know what this is. If I don't know what the clue means, nobody does. There's no big picture, right? The clue has to lead me to something, and then when I found what that is, then that something starts existing. Okay. So yeah, maybe I'll use the count in a different way. Maybe I'll just roll for. I mean, there are rules for that in GM emulators. You go from scene A to scene B, and there may be an interruption. There may be something that happens when there's nothing going on. Just roll die to see if something interesting happens. So I could just roll one of those every day, or every 2 shifts. Or if there's a chance of nothing happening, I will just roll every shift. Maybe I get nothing, and the 4th shift I get, like, oh, event, NPC tries to assassinate you, right? As I think of more changes to the main game, I will probably keep writing them down here. So this case files is my own notebook. And everything that's on the folders are things I purchased from the RPG company. All right, I think that's enough for now. I am going to think about if I'm going to stream again. As I said, this is I'm recording this because I want to. A big part of solo games is to keep a journal. Or at least some sort of you have to record the events of the game somehow, because they're usually in a group game. Even if nobody takes notes, the reason the game has happened is because different people are witnesses to the game. In this case, when I play myself, if I play by myself and I'm just saying things, then at the end I have nothing to show for it, not even to myself. Like, if I would like to be able to look back on it and say, oh yeah, I remember this game, right? This happened. A lot of people will use journals. They will write things down. Some will use a tape recorder. I don't know. They have tapes. I don't know. Some sort of voice recorder. I mean, in this case, I'm using YouTube. I'm using online tools to save my game. I will like to keep a history of whatever I'm doing. Sure, they're going to be public. Anybody can see them. I mean, it will be nice if anybody sees them and makes comments on it. But the main purpose of this is to have let's call it a paper trail of my game. I welcome any comments. Anybody wants to interject something, during play. If I'm live, I'm going to be live. That is welcome. You can do that. I have no problem. If I'm going to edit it out for like a shorter video, but I will probably still keep the live one. I don't know if anybody's going to watch this live. I don't have a active streaming account that I use to get followers. It may change, so that's fine, and I welcome anybody who wants to watch this. Maybe just to see what's the evolution of somebody playing a solo game by themselves, talking to nobody in particular, and that's okay. Anyway, thanks for watching, if anybody's watching this, and thanks to myself, future self, for starting this, because I was having a hard time starting. Hopefully I will keep going. So bye bye.